Right, guys, sharing the screen with you. All right, can everyone see the PPT?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's keep the session very, very short, very, very quick. It's about your prelims 2022 paper solving strategy and the strategy that you need to follow in the upcoming few days. I'll just quickly try and elaborate on it. Then you can ask your individual questions, if any. So starting with this question. Now, these are all specific questions from 2021 prelims paper, because that's the latest paper at hand that we have. Fine. Now, I've been emphasizing on two things, two very important things to all my personal mentees. That is all those students who have been under my personal mentorship. But now I'm expanding this to the larger Janta and also trying to explain this using this visual PPT for better understanding. One thing I've been saying is we need to understand and internalize the format of questions, the pattern of questions. That is number one. Number two, that I've been saying is we need to understand and internalize the language of the paper, the language of the questions. So starting with the format aspect, starting with the pattern aspect of the paper. Now, this was question number 14 in 2021 prelims exam. And if you see in statement 2, I've underlined World Health Organization and the World Bank. So in the past couple of years, UPSC has been following this pattern. UPSC has been following this format in its questions, where if two organizations are heading a task, if they're executing a task, if they are promoting a task together, that statement is most likely wrong. It is most likely incorrect. In this case, statement 2 says it is a global initiative launched under the aegis of the World Health Organization and the World Bank. If you eliminate statement 2, we eliminate A, we eliminate B, we eliminate D, and we are left only with option C, which is the correct answer. Now, it might seem a little bit vague to you guys that what kind of a format or what kind of an thought process is this? Is it looking a bit vague? Vandana, Yogesh, Anand?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, but now it won't feel any vague, even if it's feeling vague to some students. Let's take another question from the same paper of 2021 prelims exam. Here, two statements are given. The first statement again says the United Nations Capital Development Fund, that is UNCDF, and the Arbor Day Foundation have recently recognized XYZ. Again, remembering the original rule, if two organizations are heading a task, if they're leading a task, if they're promoting something together, that statement is more likely to be incorrect. And if you mark statement 1 as incorrect, you have only one option, D. That is statement 1 is not correct, but statement 2 is correct, and you get the correct answer. Now we can make comparison between this first question that we did and this second question. Now let me take example of another third question from this very paper of 2021 prelims. And this question has 3 statements. The third statement is the Central Depository Services Limited is jointly promoted by the Reserve Bank of India and the Bombay Stock Exchange. Again, remembering the original rule that we have seen, if two organizations are jointly leading something, if they are executing something, if they are promoting something together or jointly, that is most likely to be wrong. That is most likely to be incorrect. If you eliminate statement 3, option C and D gets automatically eliminated, and you have only 2 options left, A and B. And even in worst case scenario, even if you don't have any idea about statement 2, you are at least in a 50-50 situation among options A and B. Is everyone clear so far, guys? We have done 3 questions based on this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Neha seems to have raised a hand. Neha, I'll take up questions after I have done with the PPT. All right. Now, another question that follows the same structure, that follows the same pattern, the same format. Statement 1 here says that it's about the urban cooperative banks, and it says they are supervised and regulated by local boards set up by the state governments. Now, the first rule that we followed, the format that was being followed, if 2 organizations are leading something simultaneously, that's more likely to be wrong. Another format or another pattern that UPSC is following in its questions is if it is providing additional information or unnecessary information using and, then that is more likely to be wrong. Now here, as it is said and as it is highlighted, they are supervised and regulated by XYZ. Now, if I say, taking an example of any club of mine, say Hack CSAT or Destroy Prelims. Now, Destroy Prelims is supervised, regulated, managed, maintained, and administered by me. That is one way of saying it. And if I say Destroy Prelims is administered by me, aren't the both sentences conveying the exact same meaning?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Guys? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when unnecessary or additional information, superfluous information is given, that statement is more likely to be incorrect. And that's in fact a hint given by UPSC. If you eliminate statement 1, you eliminate A, you eliminate C, you eliminate D, and you are left only with the correct answer, that is option B. 2 and 3 only are correct. I'll take one more example which is similar to this, which will give you better clarity. Again, this is another question from the 2021 prelims paper. In statement 2, it says St. Francis Xavier died in Goa and a church is dedicated to him there. Again, 2 simple sentences clubbed together and a compound sentence has been made using and. Couldn't this have been mentioned in a simple format that a church was dedicated to him after his death? It would have been a very easy way to say it. But here, 2 simple sentences. St. Francis Xavier died in Goa and a church is dedicated to him there. So following this rule, which is very similar to the earlier question, supervised and regulated by XYZ. It died in Goa and a church is dedicated. If you eliminate statement 2, you eliminate A, you eliminate B, you eliminate D, and only C remains. 1 and 3 only are the correct answer. Now, till now, is everyone clear?
Yes,
Anand,
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uniratna, Arpita, I don't hear you.
Yes.
Surya,
Yes, sir.
Neha, Mohan.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Pranay. Okay. Now a very important thing. We need not oversimplify stuff here. Now, just because Zeeshan Sir has said, and जहां पर यूज हुआ है इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में उसको मार्क करना है, it doesn't mean that जहां भी A and D and यूज हो रहा है उस स्टेटमेंट को रॉन्ग मार्क करना है, ऐसा नहीं करना है. Let's take an example from the same question that we just did. Here we mark statement 3 as wrong, but statement 1 is right, although it has and. Recent retail investors through Demat account can invest in treasury bills and Government of India debt bonds in primary market. So the main differentiator here is we are following a rule जो UPSC over the years follow कर रहा है. 2 organizations are, if they are jointly implementing something, jointly executing something, jointly promoting something, then that is more probably a wrong statement. जो कि statement 3 में हम देख रहे हैं, it is jointly promoted by RBI and Bombay Stock Exchange. But in statement 1, no such thing is happening. Guys, please keep your mic on mute mode till I am over speaking on this. If you look at statement 1, look at statement 1, no 2 organizations are executing a common task. Statement 1 simply says retail investors through demat account can invest in treasury bills and government of India debt bonds in primary market. That's a simple statement. No need to mark it wrong. There is a clear-cut differentiation between statement 3 and statement 1 here, in accordance to the rule or in accordance to the format that we are following, or rather UPSC has been following in the couple of years. Now, moving ahead, another pattern, another format that has been visible over the past few years, UPSC has been using 1 or 2 questions every year, which has the application of the odd one out principle. If you look at this question, where I have highlighted Madanapalle and Andhra Pradesh. When you read Madanapalle and Andhra Pradesh, it's quite natural for you to think about South India. And in option A, there is Pingali Venkayya. In option B, there is Pattabi Sitaramaiya. And in option D, Madam Blavatsky, or rather Theosophical Society. Now, everyone who has read modern history knows that headquarters of Theosophical Society was located in South. Guys, please go mic on the off mode, or if you want to fight. Okay, coming back to the question, option C, Rabindranath Tagore. Now, you don't have a strong reason to relate Rabindranath Tagore to South India, but you have this subconscious compulsion to relate Pingali Venkayya, Pattabi Sitaramaiya, and Theosophical Society to South India. But here, as per the official answer key, Rabindranath Tagore, option C, is the correct answer. So coming back to the main point, the odd one out principle. If the other 3 options stand out or they belong to a particular category, in this case, they belong to South Indian this thing. So option C would be the correct answer that has been followed in the past couple of years. That is what we mean when we say that we need to observe and replicate the format, the pattern and structure of the paper. Now, very quickly, looking at the language part, like I said, we need to observe the language of the paper and how UPSC uses language and how UPSC expects us to use that language. Now, this question is a very simple one. The black cotton soil of India has been formed due to the weathering off. Now, as I have underlined, black cotton soil. Option A, brown forest soil. Option D, shale and limestone. Now, limestone, quite naturally, we relate it to white color limestone. Option D is eliminated. Option A, brown forest soil. It's again automatically eliminated. You are left with option B and option C. And here, what are you more likely to mark? You are more likely to mark granite and schist or fissure volcanic rock. Like most of you would mark option B, fissure volcanic rock, as per the understanding of the language of the question. To make it more concrete, let's take another example from the same paper, 2021 prelims paper. What is blue carbon? Now, in options, in option A, there is oceans. Option B, biomass, forest biomass. Option C, petroleum. Option D, atmosphere. Now, tell me, guys, you are more likely to relate the color blue to what? To oceans, to biomass, to petroleum, or atmosphere?
Oceans.
You all will relate it to oceans. All right. So from the same paper, 2021 prelims paper, we saw this example of black cotton soil. Then we saw this example of blue carbon. All right. Taking one more example with respect to language of paper. Here, statement 1 says they may release lethal quantities of X, Y, Z. Now, the term that I have highlighted is lethal quantities. Now, here, this term is nothing but a hint given by UPSC. Some students may call it extreme statement. In my clubs, we use the term overemphasis. Whenever UPSC overemphasizes on something, that statement is more likely to be wrong. And in this case, statement 1, lethal, fatal, deadly. These are such adjectives, these are such words which add undue emphasis to the word and following the pattern of the couple of years that is being followed by UPSC, it is more likely to be wrong. If you eliminate statement 1, you eliminate A, you eliminate C, you eliminate D, and only option B remains as your correct answer. Okay. Does everyone follow so far? Vandana, Anand,
Yes,
Pooja.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, that black cotton
Yes, sir.
soil, it's hello.
Nazeeb, Dheeraj, Aniket, do you follow, guys?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Audible?
Yeah, let's wait for a while. I'll take questions after a few minutes when the PPT is over, guys. All right. Now another question is that's repetitively coming from students is how you need to attempt the paper, in how many iterations, in how many rounds do you need to attempt the paper. And one thing I've been saying to my students is you should be attempting the paper in 2 iterations, in 2 rounds. In the first round, you need to be doing only the short questions about which you are confident. And in the second round, you need to be attempting all the questions. I'll explain this with further example, but there is one problem here. Students ask that, sir, we don't get enough time to do complete 2 readings because we are wasting a lot of time in the first round itself, reading the questions from question number 1 to question number 100. So the answer is very simple here. You don't need to read the question in entirety. When you start with the first round, you need to just glance at the question. Now, taking example of this question, with reference to India, the halbi, ho, and kui pertain to. Now, when you glance at this question, you get hold of the terms halbi, ho, and kui. And if you haven't read these terms at all, you can directly skip this question and move to the other question. But if you have read about these terms, if you have some idea about this term, you can read all the other options: dances, dance forms of Northwest, musical instruments, prehistoric cave paintings, and tribal languages. And then you attempt the paper, attempt the question, or skip to the next question. Taking another example, when you come to this question, with respect to history of ancient India, Bhava Bhuti, X, Y, Z, and ABC are famous for. Now, if you haven't read anything about Bhava Bhuti, so it's quite natural that you completely skip the question and move to the next question rather than reading all the options and thinking about the correct answer. Option A, Jain monks. Option B, playwrights. Option C, temple architects. Option D, philosophers. Then you'll end up wasting time because you are giving equal amount of time to this question in the first round itself and in the second round as well. So skipping this altogether, if you have no idea about Bhava Bhuti or the other terms, and then moving on to the next question. If you know about Bhava Bhuti or if you have heard about it, you can certainly go ahead and read the entire question and think about the correct answer. So you'll be able to attempt very few questions in the first round. Many students will be able to attempt roughly 15 to 20 questions only in the first round because those will be the short ones. All those questions in which you are doubtful, all those questions in which you have to take risk, all those questions in which you have to apply some logic or logical skills, you will be attempting those in the second round. In the second round, you need to attempt all the questions except those questions in which you are completely blank, you have no idea whatsoever about the question, and you are also not able to apply any logic whatsoever. Then you can skip the question. But don't leave any question in the second round thinking that you will be attempting it in the third round. There are 2 reasons for this. As the pattern of the paper goes, it's highly likely that you won't get a lot of time for the third round. Number 1. Number 2, in the third round, again, it's highly likely that we end up marking the wrong answer by indulging in overthinking. Also, we are wasting a lot of time. It's double defeat. 1, we are marking the answer wrong. And 2, we are using double the time. We are reading the question and thinking about it in the second round. Again, we are reading the question and thinking about it in the third round. So that's double defeat. So 2 rounds as a matter of strategy. But when you are done with 2 rounds, you need to do a very important thing. You need to count the number of questions that you have attempted. If the number of questions you have attempted is in a comfortable zone, say for example it's 90, then you don't need to take any additional risk. But even after the second round, you have attempted less number of questions, say for example in the range of 70 to 75, then certainly you'll have to take that additional risk. So again, coming to the main point, your third iteration or third round will be situational. It will be situation based. Only if your attempts are less. Otherwise, as a matter of strategy, we should be following only 2 iterations and only 2 rounds, where in the first round, we mark the sure shot ones, the sure shot answers that we are confident about. And in the second round, we attempt all those questions where we take risk, where we use logics. So this is in short about the strategy that you need to follow in the upcoming few days, and the paper solving strategy that you need to follow on the exam day. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask them one by one. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes, Anand.
hello.
Yes, Anand.
Is there any advice about marking answer using like section wise? Like first, I should attempt only polity questions, or maybe only history first, or maybe economic first, like this.
All right.
Or
What he's asking, is there an advice that how we should be marking? Should we be marking it in a sectional wise manner? Marking history first, or economy first, or polity first? See, this will be a very individual decision, Anand. I can't dictate everyone to mark polity first, or economy first, or geography first. If Anand finds that he is comfortable with geography, he will certainly start with geography so that his confidence builds up in the initial phase of the examination. If Pooja or Vandana or Pramesh or Nazeeb thinks that they are more comfortable with polity, or they are more comfortable with history, they'll start with that subject. So it's an individual choice. All right. Any other question, guys? Nazeeb, Muniratna, Atishay, Dheeraj, Yogesh, Mohan, Sachin, Surya.
Sir?
Yeah, Pooja.
Hello. Yeah, so hi, sir. So actually, I wanted to ask you that, is it better to mark directly on the OMR sheets first, or first mark on the question paper itself, and then finally at the end, can we mark the OMR sheets quickly, sir?
See, after the last prelims of 2021, some of my students reported to me that they messed up while marking the bubbles, because they were marking the bubbles at the end. So because of time pressure, because of exam pressure, they messed it up. But I won't say that it's a one strategy fits all thing. If you have been practicing the same thing of marking all the answers at one go, then you should be time conscious. You should be leaving those 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you leave, for bubbling the answers. And whenever that mark is breached, whenever that 20 minutes or 15-minute mark is breached, you should be marking your bubbles if you have the habit of marking it at one go. Personally, I prefer my students mark the answers parallelly. As soon as they are done with the question, marking it parallelly. That's a safer way of doing things. Again, an individual decision. Okay. Another question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, your name, please.
Sir, Naseeb.
Nazeeb, tell me.
Sir, actually, we had 2 sources of current affairs. One type of current affairs, that selected current affairs that you have taught us in that current affairs group. And the second thing is the conventional source that we follow, election, etc. So, as per your experience and this thing, like what sort of, how much it is likely that a question come from vision, or a more hit from your this thing? And why I'm asking this now is, in the coming few days, where should we focus on? More revision on the kind of current affairs that you have given us, or in the other things like conventional sources?
See, only a few days are remaining for the exam. And if you ask me to compare ABC Institute or XYZ Institute or my own current affairs classes that I've taken, sessions I've taken, so that won't be much useful, because till now, whatever source you have referred, be it my own resource, be it from some ABC Institute or be it from XYZ Institute, I would say just revise, re-revise and re-revise those sources. No use in going for any other source at the moment, because that won't help. New information at this point of time won't help you at all. Whatever you have done, if you have done only my sessions, revise only those current affairs. If you have also done from some XYZ Institute, revise that as well. Don't do anything new. As simple as that. Are you clear, Nazib?
Sir, yes, sir. One last question. Sir, in the upcoming few days, like, would it be more helpful to see the language of the UPSC question paper? Like you said, seeing it again and again, even if we feel bored, or would it be like more focusing on revision, which will be more mark fetching? Like,
okay. So see, this is an important question, but this is a question somewhat like asking, should you be preferring your mother first or your father? Here you need to balance. Your revision and the strategy part needs to be balanced. As I've spoken to many mentees of mine, as it comes out, there is a threshold when it comes to revision. When you cross that threshold, you won't extract too much value from revision. Let me give this example. If you take up a book, a geography NCERT or Lakshmikant for polity, and if you say that I'll read it 100 times, but does that mean you will derive 100 times more benefit from that book because you are reading it for 100 times? Does that happen, Nazib?
no, sir, no.
So there are diminishing returns after a certain point when you reach a threshold. And when you have comfortably revised your static portion and current affairs, you should be focusing more on the strategy part. And when I speak of strategy, I speak of the sessions. Now it applies to those students who have been part of my Destroy Prelim sessions or my Hack CSAT sessions. You need to revise and revisit those sessions to get hold over the logics that we have done. Number one. Number two, what I have just spoken in this particular meeting, in this particular video, regarding observing and emulating the format and pattern of the questions and the language of the questions. Precisely because the paper that you guys will be giving on 5th of June, its language and its structure and its format is very much likely to be on similar lines. There might be a few changes, there might be slight changes, but everything won't change. It won't change radically. There will be continuity. And because of this, you will be in a much better position to take risks. Getting my point, Nazib and others?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left in this meeting. Any other questions, guys, quickly?
Sir, and regarding CSAT, would it be helpful to complete the passages first and then do the easy part of the remaining questions?
Again, a very important question regarding CSAT. See, again, those students who have been part of my CSAT club, now especially those guys and even other students watching this video when it will be posted online, students who have been part of the CSAT club will be able to solve the passages very, very quickly. Like roughly in 30 to 40 minutes, you guys will be able to solve the passages first. And even if you haven't been part of the club, you can take up the section which is more convenient to you. For some students, even after attending my club, they say that maths is their strongest area. They start with maths. Many students after joining my club or without joining my club say that the RC part, the reading comprehension part, is the strongest. Take up your strongest portion first. But there is one very important step that you need to take before starting the paper. Just glance through the paper very, very quickly and categorize the questions in two categories. The first category will be of those questions which you will be attempting in the first round. The second category would be those questions which you will be attempting in the second round. The easy questions, the simple questions, or the medium difficulty questions which are in your reach. You should be prioritizing those questions in the first round. And if at all you get time for the second round, you may go for the other complex, the other time consuming questions. This is important because many of my students have been reporting that they could solve at least 4 to 5 questions more in the exam, but the time was not sufficient, the time was over. And this happens because we don't manage the time properly in the exam hall. And these 4 or 5 questions make a huge difference. They make a lot of difference. So deciding beforehand what questions you will be attempting first is very, very important. Clear, Nazib?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, one more question.
Yeah, your name, please.
Minimum, like the Surya.
Yeah, Surya.
So, like in CSAT, sometime like we have like marked some 30 questions in maths, like right questions. So should we like target less number of questions once we are reaching like our safe score, or we should we take like more RC or more questions in maths?
See, taking into consideration all areas of your paper, be it reading comprehension, be it maths, be it reasoning. Ideally, we hope to mark somewhere between 50 to 55 questions. But as the paper has been evolving over the previous years, even marking 50 questions is getting difficult. So even if you are able to maintain a good accuracy of at least 80%, then you can mark somewhere between 45 to 50 questions. Marking between 45 to 50 questions and maintaining a decent accuracy of at least 80%. Then you will easily or you'll comfortably clear cutoff, and you will even score with a good margin, 10 to 15 marks more than the margin. So this is the range, 50 to 55 ideally. In worst case, somewhere between 45 to 50. Clear, Surya?
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, guys, any other question quickly?
Yeah, hello, sir.
Who's this?
Yeah, Pranay here. Can you hear me?
Pranay.
Yeah, sir. So I have joined a bit late, so sorry if you have already covered this, but I wanted to ask, like, if you have any suggestion with respect to number of questions we need to attempt in both paper 1 and paper 2.
Okay, see, we have just talked about CSAT paper, the number of questions we need to attempt. Speaking about paper 1, again, as the paper has been evolving, the difficulty level is on the rise. So ideally, earlier, an attempt in the range of 90 to 95 was considered good. But now, if the difficulty level remains the same, or if the difficulty level increases, you need to aim for somewhere around 85 to 90 questions. 85 to 90. Because it's very hard to claim that your accuracy will be very good. And even if you attempt only 70, you'll be getting comfortable marks. It's quite difficult. You'll have to cross that threshold of 85, somewhere around 85 to 90 will be a good attempt. No need to attempt more than that if you are taking a lot of risk, because that will add up to your negative marking. Pranay.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thanks.
Okay, any further question, please? Vandana, Muniratna, Dheeraj?
No, sir. No further questions.
No, sir.
No.
Should I assume that strategy-wise, everyone of you are clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Fine. So in the upcoming days, guys, please follow this strategy. Balance your revision and strategy aspect. Rapidly revise already what you have done, be it static part, be it current affairs part, and keep going through past 2 years papers, 2021 and 2020, and focus on 2 things as we have discussed: structure, pattern, or the format of the paper, and the language of the paper or language of the questions. And in the real exam, again, as we have already discussed, how you'll be solving the paper in 2 iterations. And in CSAT, the way you will be prioritizing the questions that you need to do first, so that you don't end up losing marks on the easy questions. So finally, all the very best, guys. I hope you perform to the best of your ability. After the paper, we'll have another conversation. All the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.